Yeah, I think it was 9 seasons at Vernon Secondary.
Fantastic. What were some of the highlights you had while you were coaching at Vernon?
Got a win over those York House teams one year. That was a highlight for sure. We took a lot of L's. I think getting to the final, we played Holy Cross in a final, got thumped by 25-30. But it was a great that season for that particular team was really good, pretty special. That was a big one.
Yeah, your team actually beat my SDA team that year to get to the final. So I remember.
I wasn't going to say anything.
That was a very good team you had there for sure. A lot of talent. What was your favorite team to coach while you were there? That was probably that one.
No, it was probably Diane Schutze, Nikki Golding, Allie Keeley, the Forsyth sisters. A lot of them went on to play post-secondary basketball. That group we knew from day one was pretty special, and we felt like we'd have a pretty good run. Got lost in the semis to Mission. Aisha Lukin's team that year, they were very good, very strong. They were so competitive. Practice was so intense. We never had to coach effort, so that definitely was a team that stands out.
So just for those of you girls, he just threw out a bunch of really important names that you guys probably don't know. And back in the day, a lot of the best players all played on one team in the summer, and he had 3 of the top players in the entire province on that team, and they all went and they played and they had a very good group that year. So that was there, and there was probably, what did you say, 5 kids that played at the university level on one high school team?
Yeah, 5 or 6 that went on to play post-secondary. Diane went on to play professionally for about 4 or 5 years in Europe. That group played against Nio, a name you probably do know, about 13 times over the course of 2 years. She was at Cal, our rival university. So we got to play against and coach against her. Yeah, I think it was 12, 13 times over the course of a couple of years. So that group was very special. A lot of talent. Deep.
Yeah, no kidding. I remember that. That was a good group. And then you ended up at UBCO. Tell us how that happened.
Kind of got connected with UBCO via Junior Heat. They asked me about probably two or 3 years before I got on with the women's program to kind of morph into some Junior Heat, and I was doing that. Heather Semenik, who retired about 4 or 5 years ago now, asked me to come on as a kind of a second assistant, really just be there when I can. Was not my full-time gig, that's for sure. And I never really gave coaching at the university level a ton of thought up until then. When I did, I just knew it was something I definitely enjoyed. I wanted to stick around, and it was different. It was very different from day one.
Yeah, for sure. And then you found yourself in a position to interview for the job when the coach was let go. Tell us a little bit about that experience, how that felt, give us a little rundown on what it was like to actually go get the job.
Yeah, well, it actually started with me interviewing for the job and not getting it. 3 years prior to getting it, I interviewed, didn't get it. Obviously very disappointed, managed to stick on, and then coach that I was with was let go. I thought I prepared myself a lot better. I took a lot of my experience from not getting the job to the second interview and kind of had a better idea. And to be honest, it was likely a blessing. I don't think I was ready in that first interview, and I was definitely more ready the second go around. And I felt like I had a really good interview. It was a good feel. New AD, so he kind of put some trust into me as well, which was nice, and had a good rapport with the current players at that time on the roster. And it was a special moment for myself, my family, and a lot of years of working and doing the coaching thing, and to get there was pretty neat.
Yeah, I mean, just from that story, it's a really cool opportunity for our kids to really understand that you don't always get what you want right away, and sometimes it's a blessing, because if you put in the work, eventually you might get it. And so that's kind of like what happened with you, and I think it's very cool that it ended up working out very well.
Yeah.
So congrats on that. It's very cool.
Thank you.
So your team this coming year, I think you guys made huge strides last year. Obviously, you had a major injury with your best player this past season. She ended up coming back for the stretch run. You got a lot of talent, I think, coming in this year. I think the hopes are probably a lot higher than they've been at UBCO in a long time. Why don't you tell us a little bit about your team for this year?
I think we're going to be a fun group. We got a lot of, for the group coming in this year, I think we got a lot more energy and toughness at a couple of positions. We're definitely deeper, going to be deeper this year. And, obviously excluding injuries, we feel like we can, get to nine players pretty comfortably that we're happy with. We're going to we like to play up tempo. We want to get going. We want to get after it defensively. At the end of the day, we want to make sure everybody knows that they were in a game with us, and we're not the check mark on the calendar for teams, and at the end of our compete level will be there. We brought in a couple of real good competitors, and we kind of describe it as players that come in and play every shift or possession that it's their last, and we got a good group of first years who kind of jumped into second year and leadership for a young team. Who established themselves. Obviously, Jaylee, you referenced, was our best player last year, broke her hand 4 games in. Kind of derailed all of us emotionally. I think it was a big loss. And then we had a tough stretch without her in terms of schedule. But she's going to be a lot better. Kelsey Falk will be a lot better. The experience she got. We feel like we've taken big steps and we're closer than we've ever been. And I'll tell you what the difference is, when I go into my meetings with my athletic director, there's an expectation now, and nothing against anybody else that was at this job or where we were 4 or 5 years ago, because I was part of that as well. But there wasn't an expectation. It was more, hey, if you win a quarter, if you win, this, it was like, hey, good job. Now there's expectation to go get wins and chase playoffs, and hopefully, in 3 or 4 years, we're talking about bigger things.
Yeah, for sure. So you briefly talked about Jilly Bitson. She was probably my favorite player in the province that year. She graduated. I thought she had, she went after probably the hardest in the province. She had a high motor. She went and got rebounds. She finished around the rim. Tell us what it was like going out and getting arguably, one of the top players in the entire province to sign with you guys.
It was a roller coaster, to be honest. She obviously had coached her two years prior with Junior Heat, and I think there was an assumption in the community that, hey, it's a lock, she's going to UBCO, but it certainly wasn't. And, she wanted to explore some options. And as her season went on in grade 12, she definitely had more options. And we kind of knew it would be a bit of a battle with whoever was smart enough to be looking. But we kind of talked about her being a catalyst to get us to places that UBCO has never been. And you hit all the key points, her motor, her energy. She wanted to be somebody to turn a program around and leave a legacy. And, obviously we're a program that's trying to do that. And she took on that challenge. And, there was a moment or two during the recruiting process where I was feeling like we didn't get her and she was going to go somewhere else. And, we're not winning very many games. And it was tough to touch base with her every week and hear, I'm talking to this school now, this school's popped in, but we were fortunate enough to stay with it and definitely pressed her and got her signed.
Very cool. Now let's move on to the players that are in the chat right now. We started with 25 today. We got up to 45. Tell us about what your suggestions would be for players looking to go play after high school and some of the things that you think are important for them to, kind of put on their timeline, when to get going, stuff like that. Like what are the keys you think, if you could go back in high school and give these kids some advice, what would you give them?
Yeah, I think the first thing to start with is your academics and figuring out, getting a good idea of what you want to do. It doesn't have to be your 5-year university plan, but try to have a path that you're leaning towards or of. Look into the schools that offer what you're interested in academically. That'll help you narrow down a lot of it, really, to be honest. And then from some of the basketball side of things, once you have an idea of some schools, take the initiative, reach out to them, contact the coaches, send a video. My suggestion, and this is a personal thing, and speaking to some other coaches, it's something that we enjoy, is the highlight videos are good and they give you a snapshot. Send a half, send a quarter, send a game film, and that'll really give the coach an idea of, hey, what is she like on the bench when she's in foul trouble? What is she like after something didn't go well or things went really well, and where's she at, and those kind of things. I think that'll help. I know for me that helps. And as a coach, you try to get to as many games or watch film, but you can't get to them all. Taking that initiative And then looking at some key things I always find we're asking at the university level is, do you want to come to a program that's established and challenging for nationals and playoffs every year, and maybe sit for 2-3 years before you get a big opportunity? Or do you want to come and play right away? Which of those things are very important? That'll help with some of your decisions as well.
For sure. Tell us a little bit about UBCO. What are some of their top academic offerings? What's great about UBCO? Tell us about it.
Kelowna's great about UBCO. It's a beautiful place to live, the Okanagan, that's for sure. Academically, one of our most popular programs is our nursing program. It's a very competitive program to get in, but it's definitely one of the bigger ones. HKIN is another. Most of our athletes are HKIN, engineering, or nursing, which human kinetics, and those seem to be big ones. And you end up with the UBC degree, and I think that's something that a lot of athletes don't realize. It is a UBC degree, which is obviously a big thing from an academic standpoint. And I think their coach is a pretty good guy. You'd like him. I think you'd get along. He's a player's coach.
Absolutely. No, I'm a fan myself. Just a couple more things. How early would you suggest for kids to start looking at schools and starting to really hammer down what they actually want from their university experience?
I think if you're going into your grade 11 year, you should be really starting to pick things up. It wouldn't hurt in your grade 10 year to have some preliminary conversations. There's enough in your communities, I'm sure, to reach out to players, especially first year and second year players, and connect with them at a prospective university that you might be interested in. But I think having a good idea, I meet with a lot of families and athletes, and some of them have no clue in grade 12, and that's okay too. But you might have missed an opportunity between that grade 11 and grade 12 year. For myself, I know that we're talking to players in grade 9, so it's never too early. But definitely by grade 11.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we also have had, this past year we had the first kid that committed in the province in grade 12. And we just had a kid commit last week. So, it's definitely different for everybody for sure. But I think the sooner you can kind of hammer it down, it's always better. Last little piece here. Your team's already gone a lot better at UBCO. What are your goals for this coming year?
We definitely, we want to get to be in the hunt and talking about playoff games in January, right? We want to play, if I could sum up our entire goal, is we want to be playing meaningful games in January. The program's never had that. We were kind of close-ish statistically, by our numbers, still in the playoff hunt in January this year, but we don't want to be needing to win out 5 or 6 games. Games are so tough in this league to put together 5, 6, 7 wins just to get into the playoffs. To me, is a playoff hope. I'm talking about being in 10, 11, 12 spot going into games in January and really having those meaningful games. And, I think that's something that we're pretty close to having.
Fantastic. Well, thanks for joining us today. We do have a couple of VK kids on the UBCO team, for those of you girls who aren't quite familiar, but we got Tessa, who went to Riverside. She was a day 1 VKer. And then we had Emily. She was fantastic for us. She only played with us 1 year, but then she went to UBCO. She had a great senior year. Unfortunately, she tore her knee last year, so hopefully she gets back and she's healthy and doing well. And hopefully we'll have a future with more VK kids at UBCO. But Bobby, for our first coach, to come on and do the interview, we really appreciate it. It was awesome. Do you have anything you want to add to finish it off?
I think it goes without saying, I love the way the VK group works, and you guys are doing a lot of good things, and enjoy coaching against you in the summer when we have junior heat. And I think you guys all work hard and have a pretty good understanding of what it's going to take to get to that next level. Keep doing that.